All right, well, as the title of this video probably says, you already kind of know what's going on. We're gonna put this diesel heater in this truck because I want to heat all these compartments. So what I've done here, I've got to reorganize this now that I'm gonna have this big, huge heater in there, which is not terribly big, but the box is a little small, and I had some stuff down here. But I cut a hole in the floor for the exhaust to come through, and I've got some rivet nuts that I put in and just bolted this thing down. That's all I've done so far. This piece, I screwed this on and sealed this up. I'm gonna drill a hole here and the same on the other side, and then we're gonna do one in the back box. And then I've got this vent here that we will take, and it should slip on this flange piece here, and then we'll run this up to a pipe we're gonna run across the front. So it will pull air in. This is the inlet side of this heater, and then this is our hot side. We'll probably point this towards the door so it'll come up. And this gets really hot, so I don't know. I mean, I don't think anything in here is really flammable, but this does get pretty warm, and we don't want anything to melt. It'll melt plastic cups and bottles pretty easy. So we will run this up to the pipe here, so it's pulling a vacuum, so to say, on the other side. And then this will be a pressure side, and the air will be allowed to come up. It's connected through this box. These two boxes are all connected to the front, same on the other side. They're all connected inside. And then we will run a pipe through these back boxes. So it will, like I said, it'll suck air from the other side, which will get the circulation going between both sides. And then hopefully this will heat enough. It doesn't need to be hot, but I mean, if it would keep these boxes, you know, warm or above, you know, freezing would be nice, because I've got the tire lube and stuff over there. Would be nice if it wasn't frozen. And my towels. This compartment should stay really warm, obviously, because the heater's right here. But if we can keep, this will be the compartment over here. The front one on the passenger side will be the last to get the heat. So like I said, if this side will stay, you know, above freezing, that would be ideal. This one right here is where I keep all my coveralls and stuff, but we'll probably figure something out there. But yeah, as far as like, if my coveralls get really wet, I will bring them home and hang them up, because they won't do it. But like wet gloves, hats, you know, smaller stuff, we could probably hang in this box and probably get them to dry out. So there's two main reasons I really want to heat these toolboxes in this bed. Number one, I park my truck outside, and so when I go out to work in the wintertime and you grab onto tools that have been sitting outside in 0 degrees all night, your hands get real cold hanging onto those wrenches and stuff. So if we can keep the tools warm, the hands will want to stay a little warmer. And when like today, I was out working and there was snow flurries going on, and so what happens is you leave this down, it catches all your snow flurries, and sometimes the snow will come in here. You can see, you know, we get little bits of surface rust everywhere. So my hope is that if we can keep this warm, any water and moisture that accumulates on tools and stuff as we're working or whatever will evaporate. So let me kind of show you what we got going here. Stopped at Home Depot, got some 3-inch ducting. So we've got to, my biggest issue with this is the floor of this bed is a hefty, it's like 1/4-inch diamond plate for the floor of the bed. But instead of running cross members sideways across the truck, they've got a couple of pieces of angle iron that are welded lengthwise down the bed. So the frame rail of the truck and the floor of the bed, this is where the floor of the bed is. So those pieces of angles probably stick down here. So we've kind of got some fiddling to do. So let me climb under here, do some measuring, do some eyeballing, see where we're at. We'll get some holes punched in here. We'll cut those pieces of ducting to length. We'll shove those across there, and we'll see if we can get a wire ran up here to power this thing, and we'll go from there. I'll bring you along for the ride. Here we go. Okay, so I've got a hole in both sides. I'm gonna measure this, and it is gonna be so close. We're just barely gonna kiss the angle iron on the top, but that frame section down there we might have to do. So the reason I went with this tin ducting is so once I cut it to length and snap it together, I can like oval it out once I get it through the hole. It might be a pain to get all in there, but I think this is probably gonna be the easiest option. I was gonna do like schedule 40 2.5-inch conduit, because I've seen guys, you take them, put them on your tailpipe of your truck and let your truck idle for a few minutes after it's warmed up, and those things will get real soft. But with as cold as it is out here today, I don't know if I would have enough time to get it all fished into place before it really set up. And if I got it halfway in there and then that stuff set up and I couldn't get it back out of there, we'd be up the creek. So yeah, let me get, we're gonna measure how far this is. It's just shy of 5 feet to the boxes. So we'll get this, we're gonna leave a little extra because on this side, this is gonna stick out and this flexible conduit's gonna go over that. And then we'll leave an inch on the other side and we'll snip the end of that conduit and we'll fold it up. And then we can rivet it in a few places to hold it in place. So let me get that cut to size and then snap together, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, we just barely had enough room. That's my fuel filler. And it's, I think, oh man, I'm excited. I hope this works out good. So here we go. Okay, now this I think should be the hardest part of the whole job, is snapping this stuff together. You gotta like go in and push it down and get it to snap together, but then you gotta hold it and do a rain dance. Just, I don't know. All right, so I got the pipe through there. I had to get some help in here to kind of, I couldn't tap it and get it to feed through this. I could hold this end and get it guided, but then I couldn't go to the other side and tap it and keep it straight. So I've got that there, and it's a good thing that I went with this tin ducting, because you can't see it with that hose on there. But that thing had to go over all the cross members and frame rails, and it's pretty, I mean, it's kind of ovaled out, which is fine because the overall diameter might have changed. It might have changed size, but it didn't, or changed shape, but it didn't change size. The overall area of the pipe is still the same. So we should be good on airflow there. So I had to take my hose reel out of this one. I'm tempted to leave it out because that would be more storage, and I don't do as many tires as I used to. I'm not really a tire guy anymore, so I might just take a hose with me instead of a hose reel and open up this whole thing here. So we'll see. That's going to be another story for another day. But I've got that out of there. I need to clean some tools out of here, and then we can drill a couple more holes, shoot another duct across there, get it all sealed up, and then I think we're ready. Got to run a wire. I think we'll just pull. I might have to put a little battery in here. Either that or I've got to run bigger wires off the batteries of the truck. But I've already got a few batteries laying around from, you know, projects of the past. So I might put, I don't know, I might put a little battery in here, and then all I've got to do is run a little power wire off the trailer plug, my constant 12 volt, to charge it, and then I can put a switch on it too. So like when I let it sit overnight and run, this thing really doesn't pull a lot of power. Once it's lit, the glow plug will pull a bunch to get it lit, but once it's lit, the little pump in it and the fan, it might only pull 30 or 40 watts. So like that big marine battery probably run this thing for 3 or 4 days straight after it lit. So if I put a battery in here and put a switch on it, I can disconnect the power side from the truck itself. So like, I don't think the batteries would go dead in the truck, but I don't want to chance it because, you know, leaving early in the morning, if this thing's dead, I've got to fire up another truck to jump it and whatever. We'll just put a switch on it, and that way we can turn the switch off and isolate the heater from the truck and not have to worry about the truck's battery's going dead, and then once we start it, get the truck all warmed up and everything, we can flip that switch back on, keep the battery charged while we're out running our business all day, and then we can turn it off at night, let this thing run all night. So let me get some holes punched in here. We'll get this other one in. We'll be well on our way. All right, a lot has happened. I got underneath the truck, teed into the hot line for the trailer plug. We got power up here on a switch. So we've got a fuse here coming off this battery. The switch comes in on the truck side of the fuse, not the battery side. So we can isolate this whole system and this will still run. And then this, the truck's hotline is fused. So if this is off and this wire decides to do something funky, then we have a fuse in the truck itself. And then for some reason, if this is off, or if this battery decides to backfeed the truck, or if this is off, we have a fuse here that will fuse everything we need. We grounded to the body here, and then we've got everything grounded here. We flared these over. That's looking real nice. And then this, I'm gonna have to do something with this shelf. If I fill the truck up, and I'm at the fuel station, I can just reach in here and fill that up with the nozzle. But for now, I've either got to have a long funnel, because I've got a couple jugs. I've got about, I think I've got like 15 or 20 gallons of fuel that come out of that donor truck that I pulled my Duramax out of. But it's pretty yellow and nasty. I don't dare run it in anything. So we'll run it in this, but I need to get a funnel or something, figure out some way to fill that. This shelf can probably go, they can probably both go up a couple notches. This can probably go up here to where this touches, and that'll make it a little easier, but those are kind of a chore to move. So we'll have to do that in a minute. I probably won't show that on camera. But I'm gonna get this thing fired off. There's about an inch of fuel left in it. I'm gonna get this thing to fire and get heating up. And then while it's warming up, I'll get cleaned up. We'll close all the doors. We'll let this thing sit outside. I don't know what temperature it is out here at the moment. But in the garage, and the garage is insulated, in the garage it's like 49, and it's supposed to get down, I think, mid to high 20s tonight outside. So I'm gonna get this heater to go. We'll get all cleaned up and see how this thing does. So give me a minute. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but I got the old smoke machine fired up. But it is drawing air through that side. So the idea here with the pipes going across both sides is when all the doors are closed and that hose, so with our ducting here pulling air from the other side and this one connecting, air is being drawn through and through all these boxes and back to the heater, and then hot air is coming out of this side and coming all the way down here, and it's just a big circulation. And down here, your combustion, your intake comes in the bottom and exhaust comes out. So all of your combustion gases stay outside of the boxes, and all your heat stays, the heat that's being made by the heater itself, what it's heating, is being drawn from here and across the outside of the heater. None of your combustion goes into where you're heating. So, and that's already starting to get warm. So yeah, let me get cleaned up. We'll see how this thing does. I'm excited. This is gonna be sweet. Not too loud. It's in there running. And the door here, these doors are double walled. The door is cool to the touch, about ambient air temperature here. But it's where that thing's blowing on it right here, man. It's nice and warm. So these doors might offer a little insulation. I mean, the walls everywhere else are not really insulated that well, but we'll let that cook for a minute. We'll give it an hour or two. I'll go park it outside and we will see what happens. I'm hopeful that that will be enough. So I will let you guys know in a minute. All right, it has been 2 hours. It's a little chilly out here. I'd say it's high 20s. So this is the last box. This is where the air goes back over to the driver's side. And like 35. I'm gonna leave this out here tonight and see how cold it gets out here. I mean, it definitely feels a little warmer. I don't know if this side's really gonna do anything. I think what I need to do, we can turn the heater up. I mean, this door's nice and warm. Yeah, this one's warm. Let's see. Yeah, this side is very nice. Yeah, even back here, the top of this box is nice. Down here is not terrible. So, I think what we could do, where this comes into it, this back plate isn't right up against the heater. If you take this cover off, the heater, the inlet is probably ½ inch in front of this plate, so it might not be circulating all the way. But anyway, do some testing and some tuning, and we'll let you know.